Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast News Makers. This hour's newsmaker is Eric Borregard, a Green Party candidate for the U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's good to be here.
Tell me a little bit about your background, if you will, and why you decided to run for this seat.
Well, I own a business in Livonia called EB Graphics, and I decided to run for this seat because I believe that our democracy is broken and that it now comes from the top down, from the large corporations, and we basically have two industries for elections. They're the Democratic and Republican parties.
You represent the Green Party. When folks are voting for a Green Party candidate, what are they really voting for? What are they getting?
They're voting for grassroots democracy. They're voting for people who are just like themselves, who aren't taking corporate PAC money. They're not out there for themselves in some sort of great career move. They're basically been drawn to a serious problem in our society, lack of democracy, and are trying to do something about it.
What would you say is the top issue or some of the top issues on your platform?
I would say the war in Iraq right now. The ballot line for no war is definitely the Green Party, and I believe that this war is really unjust, and it'll be probably something like a Vietnam War for us.
One of the biggest issues that always faces third parties is election reform, campaign finance reform. How would you like to see things change, and what would you do to make those changes happen?
Well, I think we definitely need election reform. We need to, I would, like for example, Ralph Nader, the Democrats claim spoiled it for Al Gore. Well, I think if we had had instant runoff voting, then Al Gore would have really won. I think the Green Party agrees that Al Gore should have won, and I think, but the fact that the Democrats don't go and reform the system proves that they like the winner-take-all system. I mean, it worked for them when Ross Perot ran, for example.
Any other hot issues, environmental issues? I know the Green Party is all for alternative fuels, for mass transit, and other ways to conserve energy so that we're not relying so much on oil.
Yeah, that really is it in Michigan. Carl Levin, my opponent, he basically sponsored the bill that killed CAFE standards. We are now not competitive in a green vehicle research here. That in California, for example, right after they killed CAFE standards, they went ahead and passed their own standards. So now it gives an advantage to the Japanese companies and the European countries, and we're going to fall further and further behind as more and more green vehicle research and so on goes overseas and doesn't come here in Detroit. And eventually, as the fossil fuel market collapses, we're going to have to switch to some sort of alternative industry in Michigan. I think wind turbines, mass transit type of rail systems, and that kind of thing could be a real boom for the state. There's lots of areas in the state that have that potential. You have Flint; it has all kinds of capacity. It's not being used, and I think we need to start looking at that sort of development, not the old automobile type industries.
Third parties obviously have a real uphill battle because of some of the campaign finance and election reform battles that have not been won, and obviously running against candidates with huge name recognition, a lot of money. How frustrating is this? Or
I think we have all the time in the world. I think in the long run, it's the green vision that will carry us through. It's the green economy that's the economy of the future, not the fossil fuel economy from the 19th century. So I have a lot of hope in the young people that are drawn to the Green Party. They couldn't pick a better place to start their political careers and their hopes and dreams for the future. Are
you seeing your members or folks drawn to this party?
And this is a totally different dynamic. The amount of people that are drawn into the party and how positive and how hopeful they are for what they're getting involved with. It's like, you know, it's no place else in our society. I think you're seeing that right now.
Okay, thank you so very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Eric Borregard, a Green Party candidate for the U.S. Senate.
It's now back to CNN Headline News.
Do you want a U.S. Senator that is beholden to the utility companies for a future like this? Or this? Wind power, clean, economical, and enough to supply Michigan's needs 4 times over. That's right. 4 times over. Eric Borregard for U.S. Senator. Green economy, green jobs, Green Party. For a future that's 4 times better. Paid for by the Eric Borregard for Peace and Justice U.S. Senate Committee.